Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hello and welcome to episode 222 of the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. I'm Tim Robertson, your host, and I want to thank you for joining us. And a special welcome goes out to all of our new listeners. Thanks for finding us. I hope you enjoy the show and become a part of our growing community. This podcast is made possible by the support from you, our listeners. If you'd like to help keep the Observer's Notebook going, you can join us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. At $5, you receive early access to the podcast before it goes public. For $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you'll be recognized as a producer of the podcast. And you'll find all the detail at www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. To learn more about the ALPO, visit our website at www.alpo-astronomy.org, where you can join the organization. Membership begins at only $22 a year. So let's dive into episode 222, and we're going to talk, are lunar observing techniques still valuable? Enjoy. All right, I would like to welcome everybody back to this special edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. And today we're talking Sketcher Science, the true value of lunar drawings. And I thought it would be a perfect chance to bring in one of the ALPO's premier lunar observers, Alberto Anunziato from Argentina. Welcome, Alberto.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Now, you have quite the active group in Argentina, don't you?
Yes, at Latin America, because they are Uruguayan observers, Bolivian observers, Colombian
Okay.
observers. Yes, but they do photographic observation of the moon quite often,
Mm-hmm.
and also planetary. But they are very active in lunar observation, and I made some sort of coordination of these contributions, and I channeled them to the Lunar Observer.
Okay. And the Lunar Observer, Dave Teskey's article or book that he puts out every month on things to observe on the moon. There's more pages in that than there is in the ALPO journal, I believe, right now. It's crazy. And you
It is a big newsletter.
and your contributions to that is immense too. You do a really fine job with that. So thank you for helping out with that as well.
Oh no, thank you for bringing me the opportunity. Yes, it is quite interesting how it becomes a place for lunar debate. That's very interesting, and David do a great job, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
wonderful guy. It's very um, um, everybody in Latin America has a extraordinary concept of David. It's very popular.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Also Tony Cook with the
Oh,
programs that led an association with the British Astronomical Association as lunar transient phenomena
hmm
verification or the basin and very craters program. It has been a mentor. I began lunar observation reading the Lunar Observer, so I am a grateful reader of the Lunar Observer, and with my first contact, that was quite an occasion. For me and for my friends was with Tony Cook.
Very good, very good. Let's just jump right into it. Why do you think sketching the moon is still important when there's high resolution cameras out there?
Well, I wouldn't say it is important, or I wouldn't say how important it is, but today, but I firmly believe this is still valuable. First of all, um, if um, if visual observation and recorded by drawing and sketching were more popular, it would add more telescope to the observation of people who don't have a camera,
Hmm.
which are many people in our poorer countries like mine, Argentina. There are many people who has a telescope but not have a camera or filters, which is a luxury right here. Second, I think that there are aspects of the human eye, and this is a little a little more profound. I think there are aspects that the human eye can capture more sensitively than cameras. It is highly debatable,
Hmm.
obviously, but I think that the eye is still more sensitive to degrees of brightness and shadows. I remember Tony Cook saying something like that, no? That the eye is more sensitive to shadows and brightness than the camera, but less sensitive in terms of contours and
Hmm.
size, not very keen in outlines and distances. The eye-brain system can improve with training. This is very important with visual observation. The training of the observer, the training and the eye system can improve also with the prior knowledge of the observer. And this to a greater extent than the camera software system can improve by processing the image. There is a possibility to improve the observation by training the observer.
Hmm.
Training at selectivity. The selectivity, what to observe of the trained eye, can be fundamental for modern visual observation, since it allows to focus on a certain feature, while in photographic observation, the observer looks at the field of view of the camera or of the software capture, in which there is less information than the information that arises later in the processing of the image. The photographic, the great job of the photographic observer is in the processing,
Hmm.
while the great job of the visual observer is at the telescope or prior knowing about what to see. But
You make a very good point there because that's really the goal of the ALPO training program is to train the observer to be a better observer. Uh, I do not accept photographs, astrophotos in the training program. I'm not teaching you how to be an astrophotographer. There's tons of information out there on that. My goal is to make you a better visual observer, and the only way to do that is having your eyeball stuck to the eyepiece and recording what you're seeing. And you know very well, over a period of time, you start to see more and more detail visually. And
yes, yes,
that's what, we're at a point in amateur astronomy where everyone wants to take the pretty picture and they don't stick their eyeball to the eyepiece. And that's frustrating for someone like me and probably for you as well. You want them to look and really evaluate what they're looking and use the human eye and human brain to figure out what they're looking at.
yes. Even if you observe with the trained eye an image, a photographic image, uh, you begin to see details that are overlooked
Hmm.
if you're not a trained observer. Uh,
Yeah, one of the ALPO lunar sections is lunar domes. And I've looked at some lunar images for years, but once someone pointed out a lunar dome to me, I started finding more lunar domes in different images and things that I've never ever looked for before. Now I was looking for those particular images.
yeah, sure, sure.
So, so what do you personally enjoy most about the process?
Precisely what I enjoy the most, without a doubt, is the process of concentrating on what you observe and the increasing detail that you perceive as you draw your subject. Mere visual observation provides the general picture, but having to draw what you see brings up small details that need to be recorded. A small bright area on an elevation, differences in tonalities and shadows. These details can be overlooked if they are not recorded. Uh, Precisely what you say about the training. That best moment is followed by a slightly more uncomfortable moment when you realize that you won't be able to record everything you see. It will be wonderful if you have a mental camera that
Mm-hmm.
could record just precisely what you see. But this is not in the near future possible. Also, I really enjoy through leafing through all observation notebooks full of drawings. This is very versatile.
Very good. So, what materials do you use when you're doing your drawings?
I could share.
Okay.
Okay. This is my.
There you go.
This is another thing that visual observers enjoy. That is, go back to your previous observations and the attitude to record what you see is very important in order to use this information. Materials. Um, I don't know if the materials I'm about to mention are standard. Pencils, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a selection of different types, although I end up using just a few.
Mm-hmm.
One or two for different degrees of shadows and a thicker one for deep shadows. Personally, I don't like grainy paper, and there is only one brand of paper from Argentina since I live here
Okay.
that I buy. I draw directly in the observation notebook. Uh, this small hardcover notebook that I show previously, hard sheets to draw without the care to rip the paper,
Mm-hmm.
or red light to illuminate the observation notebook. Sometimes I draw with pencils, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
at right the leaf from the observation notebook, and to the left the final sketch. Sometimes I draw with pencils, but more usually with a pen. I don't know if this is a standard, but with a pen allows me for more precise features when not paying attention to the paper.
Hmm.
I think you should look as much as possible at the eyepiece and not so much at the drawing. That is, sitting in front of the telescope, I make a sketch that I fill with instructions. And for distraction, it's also better to use a pen, and more if you are not looking at what you are writing. I use the most classical astronomical drawing materials, hard and soft erasers, Toltino and blending stubs for the subsequent drawings in the comfort of my home. I'm actually quite rustic. I'm try charcoal,
Hmm.
not for the telescope sketch, but for the subsequent drawing, but I didn't like the result. I'm experimenting with a new technique using tortillon, when this paper pens that are for shading.
Okay.
Uh, to apply directly at the telescope, but I'm trying to improve this technique. Uh, I'm very rustic with my sketches. I try to I prefer to put my attention in the observation and try to meliorate the sketch later at home.
Okay. So you don't complete the sketch at the telescope. You make all your necessary notes and highlights in this notebook, and then you transfer all that later in the comfort of your home to an actual representation of what you saw.
Yes,
Okay.
it's not the way, it's not the best way to do it. Unfortunately, my skills don't allow me to complete the sketch at the eyepiece. That would be the best solution, obviously. But for some reasons, I have some notes about that. Um, because, first of all, because you need to because first of all, because to draw at the telescope could be very tiring. Not
Mhm.
it's more comfortable to take pictures, but secondly, because I'm not a good artist, so um, I prefer not to add time to the sketching, but to um, um, make the time of the observation profitable.
Okay.
Uh, not drawing, but to observing most of the time at the telescope,
Okay.
and try to minimize the time of the sketching. For this is important the selectivity, what to draw. For that, I prefer to draw lunar features uh, with I am more with which I have a more knowing, because like dorsa or wrinkled ridges.
Okay.
So, at first glance, I could at the telescope I could notice that the features that are worth of record, and try to record these unusual or important features.
So that's an interesting process. I didn't know you did it that way because that kind of sounds like what astrophotographers do is they take the raw image and then later in the comfort of their home, they post-process it. And that's basically what you're doing with your drawing inside.
Yes, could be an analogy. Yes.
Hmm. Okay. So how do you decide what lunar feature to draw?
Um, Excuse me.
Okay.
Uh, I rarely plan. Most
Hmm.
of the time it's cloudy.
Okay.
Ideally, I should know in advance what's in the terminator, but free time is short, and the decision is usually made suddenly. Once I take out the telescope, I let myself guided by the terminator area,
Okay.
looking for anything worth recording, because the appearance is had some curiosity in the appearance, or because it's, as I say, as I said, Brinkle Ridge that can be seen in great detail because it's close to the terminator. And of course, I first observe the targets for that hour indicated by the past lunar transient phenomena verification program led by Tony Cook. The program aims to verify the appearance of a given area of the moon under the same illumination and libration conditions as those that existed at the time of that historical lunar transit phenomenon report. Reobserving under the same conditions allows to refining the database of the reports, essentially discarding the reports in which what was reported, a brightening, a darkening, for example, is repeat at the same time of the lunation. It follows from that it wasn't that the original observation, it wasn't anomalous, but rather that the observer thought it was anomalous, but that is repeat with each lunation. So the program doesn't seek to confirm past reports, but rather to discard past reports. So I choose first of all this program from we report for this program since 19 no since 2015. And then I'm going to the Terminator.
Okay. All right. I want to jump back a little bit. How important is it what telescope you use? And how do you determine, do you have one telescope or do you have multiple telescopes?
No, I have one telescope,
Okay.
which I bought for variables and comets, which are the subject I was interested in at that time. It is an Maxutov Cassegrain mid ETX 105, 4 inches, which happens to be an ideal telescope for lunar and planetary
There you go.
observation. But for comets, it wasn't very useful.
Right.
But I became an ardent lunar observer by reading the Lunar Observer, thanks to ALPO. And then I dedicate myself to lunar observation. It's difficult to, I have been in some organizations, some observatories who has great, and now I belong to some associations which have larger telescopes. But the time that dedicate to observation is very difficult that you convince them to allows you to observe half an hour the same point in the moon. All the time is always directed to photographic observation. The common sense nowadays in astronomy is that the photographic observation is the standard. So this association with greater telescope than mine doesn't buy filters or eyepiece. So the ideal observation would be, and with my trained eye to say, would be with a greater telescope when I could afford to buy some greater telescope. But what it lacked, well, although I have a little telescope, I try to compensate this with the trained eye and a prior knowledge, and because of that, I am so keen on visual observation.
Yeah, there you go. So when you start your drawing or observation, do you start with outlines and shapes and then jump into shading, or how do you do that?
Yes, with the contour. Yes, yes. First of all, you can see in this picture, for example, I started with the outlines, and then the shadows. Sometimes the contours are defined by the shadows.
Uh-huh.
themselves. In wrinkled ridges, that happens frequently. But yes, I start with shadow. I'm quite rustic. I think that perhaps to begin with the shadows would be a better technique, but I don't know how to use it, so I started the classical way with the contours.
Okay, just the outline first. Okay, but that gives you a basic starting point anyway. Tells you what you're drawing, and you don't want to draw too much. Like you said, there's way too much detail. If you were to draw like this photograph you have in the middle, that would be a lot of detail, and spend hours with the drawing. But just focusing on the center section there, that's that's your wrinkled ridge. That's what you're interested in, right?
Yeah, and I always, how like I said before, today visual observation you can't um, you can trust only in visual observation.
Hmm.
It's always, for me, it's always the beginning. I try later to confirm what I see. How does it really sees this surface? Uh, in the case of wrinkled ridges, it's difficult. Not you have to have very oblique illumination
Hmm.
in the photographic images to see the details. To see the details that you could see with a small telescope like mine. This is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's not knowing. It's not quite knowing, but all by all that you could see with a small scope, with a trained eye,
Hmm.
details that require a bigger telescope, a camera, and processing. So I compare my drawings with images that you have in atlases.
Hmm.
Uh, for example, is very important. Um, and I don't know if I I'm very careful if I record some feature that could be anomalous or I'm very careful not to report that um, unless I could confirm that with the photographic image.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, I notice your shading on this image on the left too. I mean, how do you how do you capture the shading and shadows? Because like item 5 on your drawing, that looks like a lunar dome, isn't it?
Uh, yes, 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 or a peak.
Yeah, because I
No, no, no. Well, yes, it's a dome.
it's a
Number
dome.
five.
Yeah,
It's a dome. It's a dome. It's a
yeah,
dome.
because when I look at your drawing on the left, I see the curvature, I see the depth, and that's a skill to be able to make that look like it's got elevation to it. So how do you do that? How do you capture the shading and shadows to show the depth?
Well, I'm quite primitive. I'm a better draughtsman than a painter, so I do better with contours. But um, no, I have no other technique that graduate the shadows by the intensity of the stroke at the
Okay.
telescope and with text indications. In this case, the shadows are quite linear.
Hmm.
Uh, the shading in the drawing on the left, it's um, with a tortillon or blend stamp.
Okay.
Um,
Now, blending step is a
it's
valuable tool. The blending,
hmm?
in the training program, the blending step is a very valuable tool. It gets rid of the lines in your drawing and allows you to does do exactly what it's called, blend in the images to each other.
Yes, that could. This is an artistic detail, let's
Hmm.
say. because I think the more important is the information in this uh, rough and not pretty sketch to the left, to the right, excuse me. But you have to make the sketch presentable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's the subsequent drawing. But no, I have another.
Yeah, it's not only has to be good looking, but to me, the more important thing with the drawing is its accuracy. It has to be exactly what you're seeing.
Yes, 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 yes. You don't. It's important not to lose time
Mm-hmm.
at the eyepiece in artistic, in refine the the drawing. That could be that could be the next step at in the comfort of of your home. There are some very skillful observers that could that have the technique, had a great technique, and so they could draw at the eye of the telescope,
Mm-hmm.
and this sketch is precise and beautiful. That's not my case.
Yeah, it's uh, so as seeing conditions change during the evening and during your observations, how do you compensate for that, or do you?
In general, I don't have much time to observe. So if the weather isn't good, I'm not likely to go out. If there are major changes in scene, I prefer to suspend the observation. But this happens very rarely. In general, we mustn't forget that one of the advantage of visual observation, and I learned that from Chad Wood in The Mother Moon,
Mm-hmm.
is that the brain automatically selects fleeting moments of seeing, of sharp seeing, and discards the moments of poor seeing. So what you see
Mm-hmm.
visually is a filter image with the best seeing. That is very amazing when you realize that. In the, what we see on a camera screen, like the image appearing to ripple, is something that our brain can filter out
Mm-hmm.
and remain with a stable image made of seconds. Our visual image is made of seconds of uh, sharp seeing and
Mm-hmm.
memory. Uh, mm, it's not the eye, but the brain working.
That's right.
This is very amazing. To achieve the same effect with a CCD camera, we must resort to accumulating very short time images or to select the best frames of a video recording. That is why visual observation is less precise than photography, but only with CCD cameras.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I know in planetary observing, whether it's Mars when it's at opposition or Jupiter or Saturn, you'll be looking through the telescope through the eyepiece, and you'll see the bubbling of the atmosphere. But then every few seconds, the atmosphere will just seem to stop moving, and this image will just pop out at your eye, and you'll see all sorts of detail. You can't do that with a 10-second glance through a telescope. You have to spend time with the eyepiece to do that. And that's like you mentioned, people are taking CCD images, they're taking little movies. And then the software goes in and pulls out all the fuzzy frames and puts together all the good frames. But doing it with your eye and seeing that by yourself without assistance of a camera is, to me, the beauty of visual observing.
Yes, it's amazing. It's an effect. The CCD camera can obtain that effect by selecting the best frame of a recording.
Hmm.
But the previous cameras with film uh,
Yeah.
could not do that. See, it's a very amazing. how the brain and eye system works.
Yeah. Um, how has your technique evolved with practice over the years?
I don't know if my technique evolved that much. What evolves is my passion at
Mhm.
the table to make the draw. Above all, my skills of observation, and that requires a previous theoretical approach. That's um, my attention at the eyepiece evolves. My technique, I don't know. Some my first drawings were uglier than my new ones, but I think I concentrate myself more on the training of my eye
Okay.
than to ameliorate my drawing skills.
So how long does a typical I would say your observing sessions are broken in two pieces, one at the telescope, the one later finishing up. How long do you spend at the telescope? And are you just focusing on one object when you're at the telescope, or you do multiple objects?
No, no, multiple objects. No,
Okay.
no, 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 not too much. But my typical observing session would be 1 hour, 1 hour and a half.
Okay.
Uh,
And that's getting
my
the
dream will be to spend a month in a place where I could only observe the moon, that
Mhm.
in a place without clouds, in a place without a family. Family is good, but
At least yeah, yeah.
sometimes I could I perhaps I will accomplish my dreams. But an hour, and so every sketch 15 or 20 minutes, up to 40 minutes when the scene is not so good and you have to come back. But or there are some strange features, or you are not so in the mood. So let's to say, but 15 or 20 minutes, it's a typical lunar drawing duration. The
Okay.
sketch, the rough sketch at the left, to the right, it doesn't have don't have any importance how much time you spend in making the drawings. Perhaps I will have to be more patient and work out more my final drawing, but my what is important, my uh, sketching at the telescope for one feature, it's about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay. Do you have any other images you'd like to share with everybody?
Yes, I have this one, but it's not very pretty, but it had a connection to the role that the drawings play in contributing to ALPO and other observation programs. Um, I think my drawings, like visual observation themselves, are of marginal importance compared to photographic observation, the sketching, but they have contributed to lunar debate, so to speak. On several occasions, I have received comments and contribution from amateur astronomers that I appreciate, commenting on my contribution and send me photographs for comparison. For example, my drawings published in the Lunar Observer are usual of lunar wrinkle ridges, a tectonic formation that was largely overlooked in reports. So I hope that my drawings have contributed to our understanding, at least of wrinkle ridges. I believe my sketches have played some role on the, as I said before, Lunar Transient Phenomena Verification Program, and also for the Basins and Buried Craters program. This observation of a Grove crater, it's a visual observation. It's an observation of the crater and of a depression nearby. This depression was confirmed later after seeing my report in the Lunar Observer by a fellow observer, a much more gifted observer, is Kwok Pao from China, who saw, like me, a possible buried crater. This depression could be a
Hmm.
possible buried crater, and as a possible, I would say unlikely but possible, buried crater was incorporated into the database of basin and buried craters program. Also, a combination of the ALPO and British Astronomical Association, and also led by Tony Cook.
Okay. Wow. Hmm. And so, do you see lunar sketching as a science or art or a mixture of both?
Perhaps a mix. It had some science. You need to know a lot about the lunar surface. You need a lot to be trained in observation, and a fair amount of art, because if we are skilled at drawing and painting, our records will be better. Uh, I have some skill uh, in the draft, because as a boy I went to lessons, to drawing lessons. It is the first time that I took some result from that lessons. Uh, but yes, if you are skilled at drawing, uh, you you lose less time drawing at the observation notebook. Perhaps perhaps I will have to take and again drawing lessons.
Okay. Uh, what advice would you give someone that's just starting out and wants to sketch the moon?
Another time, I don't know if I in a position of give advices. I'm not the skilled draftsman to give advice. I just say that those who initiate in the visual observation and the record by drawing, they should start with the smallest possible areas.
Hmm.
At least I started with one mistake. One of the mistake I made when I was started, that was that I covered too much
Hmm.
ground. Mm. It seems easy when you are sketching at the eyepiece, but when you try to finish, or when you start with the details, drawing a very large area is difficult. It's easy to get tired. It's easy to let your guard down. So it is always better to concentrate in a small area. Um, and but the advice I will give, without a doubt, is give a try. Give a
There
try
you go.
to drawing. Doesn't have, as you say before, doesn't have to be pretty. It's always better, of course, if it is the drawing is pretty, but focusing on precision, the drawing could lead you to be a better astronomer.
Very good. And with that, I want to remind everybody that we've mentioned the Lunar Observer a couple times. Dave Teskey came on the podcast a little while ago, and he did a complete podcast about the Lunar Observer, the newsletter booklet that he puts out every month. And that one podcast hit 26,000 downloads. So that was the one that we've had really go viral. So that was amazing. So Please, if you haven't already checked that one out, please go back a few and take a look at that one. There's a lot of good information in there. Alberto, is there anything else that I could share with our viewers today?
Yes, I would like to share some images of the real artists of lunar sketching that they could see or could be seen in the Lunar Observer. I will go once again to my presentation.
Robert Hayes.
Yes, because I would rather highlight the extraordinary draughtsmen who regularly appear in the Lunar Observer.
Mm-hmm.
Each has their own technique, but their work is amazing. It's unbelievable from an artistic point of view. And it's also amazing how their drawings contain information that can be compared to photographic images. Robert Hayes Jr. is extremely precise in shape and contours in his recording of very small craters. And also in craters very complex, like the one on the left. It's amazing how precise is Robert in his drawings. Michel de Koning from France
Wow.
has a great overview. It's amazing how he draws beautiful Maria, for example, with great precision, in detail and economy of strokes. That's that's a difference between the gifted artist like Robert or Michel and the not gifted draughtsmen that with few strokes can add incredible information. Chef de Witt from Belgium shares the same qualities with Michel. Very precise at the detail and with some, they don't need to add to add too much information with some little art could achieve a great image to see, but also if you compare, these are images, Michel's and Robert and Chef, they're images that we use in our focus on section. There is a section of the Lunar Observer that is dedicated to one feature every 2 months. And in this section, we use the images, not only the photographic images, but also the visual observations recorded by drawings. And the amount of information is nearly the same. We use the sketches as we use the photographic images. For that, you have to do a great job. Because, as you can see, my drawings are of smallest areas. These are draws of biggest areas, but with the same amount of detail. That's I could achieve that from now on. And at least, last but not least, it's Van Folvari from Hungary, who is incredibly accurate at capturing both contours and shadows on a very minute scale. Incredible artist and incredible observer, because as you can see, the details are almost photographically.
Yeah.
They are all artists I admire, I envy. They are admirable observers, and their drawings are the best proof of the validity of visual observation and lunar drawing today.
Very good. All right, Alberto. Well, I want to thank you for that, for coming on the podcast. This was not your first time, and hopefully not your last time on the podcast. But
Sure.
thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be recognized as you do by inviting me at the podcast. And it's a great pleasure also to talk about this fascinating subject.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Again, I want to thank our guest, Alberto Anunziato, for coming on and joining us today. If you enjoy this episode, please take a moment and give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share the podcast. It really helps reach more listeners. New episodes of the Observer's Notebook come out every few weeks. You can find us on iTunes as well as the ALPO YouTube channel. If you'd like to help support the podcast, you can do so through Patreon for as little as a few dollars a month and up to $35 a month, where you receive benefits which include a one-year membership to the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers and producer on the podcast. The links to both are in the show notes. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our producers, Steve Siedentop and Michael Moyer, for their generous support of the Observer's Notebook. And as always, you can reach me directly by email at tim.robertson@alpo-astronomy.org. Thank you for joining us today on the Observer's Notebook podcast. You can join the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers today. It's just this easy. You can become a valuable member of this International Lunar and Planetary Astronomy Organization, founded in 1947 by Walter H. Haas. It's based upon the structure of the British Astronomical Association. You can join various lunar and planetary observing sections, contribute to our massive archive of observations. You'll have access to our extensive lunar and planetary gallery of over 20,000 photos and observations of the sun, the moon, comets, meteors, and the planets. You'll receive our quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. You'll have the ability to join the ALPO training program, which will teach you the finer points of making planetary observations. You can attend our annual virtual conference, and you'll have access to the Observer's Notebook podcast. Membership begins at only $22 a year. The way to find us, just go to your Google and type in ALPO Astronomy, and you'll see this prompt come up. There's our association with our website, alpo-astronomy.org, and you'll come to our homepage. If you look at the top of the homepage, it says Join ALPO. Click on that, and you'll come to the sign-up screen. It gives you the information on the organization, and there's two ways to join. You can join by mail, where you'll download a membership form, or you can pay online using PayPal. This is the PayPal processing page. You just fill out a few information lines, and then you're given the chance to click PayPal and join the association. Welcome to the ALPO.